Welcome to Hollywood Bulletin. Angie Dickinson, a name that once lit up movie marquees, graced the covers of glossy magazines, and defined elegance and allure in the golden age of Hollywood. With her sultry voice, commanding screen presence, and unforgettable beauty, Dickinson was more than just a star. She was a symbol of power, independence, and timeless grace. Over the decades, she captivated audiences in films like Rio Bravo, Dressed to Kill, and on the groundbreaking television series Policewoman, where she became one of the first women to lead a primetime crime drama. Her career was legendary. But behind the glitz and glamour, her personal life was filled with emotional highs and heartbreaking lows. Angie Dickinson wasn't just adored by fans. She was admired and pursued by some of the most powerful and famous men in Hollywood. History. Throughout her life, Angie Dickinson was no stranger to romance. Her beauty and charm drew attention from men like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and even President John F. Kennedy. But those affairs, often sensationalized in the tabloids, were just fleeting chapters in a much deeper story. Now, at 93, after a life in the spotlight and a legacy that few can rival, Angie Dickinson has opened up about something profoundly personal. In recent interviews, she's reflected on the loves of her life, but confessed that there was only one man who truly had her heart, a man she calls the love of my life. So, who was he? For decades, speculation has swirled about her long, complex, and passionate relationship with none other than Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board himself. Their connection began in the 1950s, when both were ascending to the peak of their careers. Sinatra was already a cultural icon, and Dickinson was quickly rising through the Hollywood ranks. They met on the set of Ocean's 11 and instantly clicked. What followed was a decades-long love story that defied labels. Though they were never married, Angie and Frank shared a deep emotional bond that lasted until his death in 1998. Unlike her more public relationships, Dickinson kept this love relatively private, perhaps because it was so real, so raw, that putting it under the microscope of Hollywood gossip would have diminished it. Over the years, she has spoken fondly of Sinatra, not as the legend the world knew, but as the man who made her laugh, made her feel safe, and who understood the chaos of stardom like no one else could. They had their ups and downs, and their romance wasn't always smooth. But in the quiet moments, it was Frank who she called when she needed someone to talk to. It was Frank who stood by her in her most difficult times. And now, with the benefit of hindsight and the wisdom of age, Angie says it plainly, he was the love of my life. But her story doesn't end with Sinatra. Angie Dickinson also had a long and sometimes complicated marriage to composer Burt Bacharach. They were married for 15 years and had a daughter, Nikki, whose life was tragically marked by illness and emotional struggle. Nikki's passing in 2007 was a heartbreak that Dickinson rarely discusses, but it was another chapter in a life, full of both glitter and grief. Through it all, Dickinson remained fiercely independent, choosing to step back from the spotlight rather than conform to an industry that didn't always know what to do with a strong woman in her later years. She never remarried after Bacharach, and when asked why, she simply replied that she had already experienced love, real love, and didn't need to chase it again. Today, as she reflects on her journey, Angie Dickinson doesn't do so with regret. She speaks with honesty, clarity, and a sense of peace. She knows who she is, what she gave to the world, and who truly mattered in her life. And for her, that answer will always be Frank. In the end, her confession isn't just about romance. It's about the enduring power of emotional truth. Even in the world of Hollywood, where everything sparkles on the surface, the most meaningful relationships are often the ones kept closest to the heart. Angie Dickinson's story is a reminder that love doesn't have to be loud or perfect to be real. Sometimes it's the quietest connections that echo the longest. For more stories like this, raw, emotional, and untold, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin, where we uncover the truth behind the stars.